Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Sydenham Arts Podcast, where we talk all things Sydenham, Lewisham and beyond. I'm your host, Angela Eyton, and we are delighted to have you here tonight for the season finale. That's right, the season finale. And we're not sure when we're coming back, so let's make it a good one. In light of that, we have three excellent guests coming up for you this evening. We have the wonderful actress and personal trainer, Leah, the brilliant Gavin Barlow from the Albany, Deptford, and we have the fantastic cabaret-style theatre performer, Xnthony, tonight. Yes. Now, for those of you watching via the live stream tonight, hello. Your first thought was probably, why is she dressed like a zebra? But then very quickly, your second thought was, why am I not dressed like a zebra? And trust me, I understand, because I was like you once. And I'm just going to say, once you've gone there, it's hard to come back, just get those stripes on. Yes. Now, also, if you are watching via the live stream tonight, say hi, give us a little hi in the chat. And remember, if you think of any questions that you'd like to ask our guests this evening, just type them in the chat and we will ask them as we go. If you're listening via audio means, hi, I'm a zebra. I'm a zebra. I'm a zebra. And if you keep saying it, eventually it will become true. Those are the rules. Okay, so of course, we have a special treat from our Lewisham A-lister for you tonight, and we find out who has been crowned the ultimate local living legend of the week. And yes, that is quite a crown to wear. So, first of all, let's go on over to our first guest. They are an actor, storyteller and co-founder of physical theatre company Limb to Limb, who have toured nationally, internationally and produced their first commission for the Sydenham Arts Centre last year. Over lockdown, they have been very, very busy collecting stories for their next play about ex-lovers that have ever so kindly got in contact over the lockdown period. As well as performing, she is kicking butt as a personal trainer and a massage therapist. Yes, and she is my dream zebra in crime. It's the one, the only, Leah Georges.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. I'm really jealous that I don't have my zebra outfit with me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that you're jealous, actually, because Leah and I bought zebra outfits at the very same time, didn't we, when we lived in New Cross together? Yeah, and I'd be sad if you were dressed like a zebra right now and I wasn't. I'd be heartbroken. Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It's very, very appreciated. And so nowadays, you're not just an actor, you're a personal trainer as well. Which is your favourite?
Oh, that's a hard question. They're actually so similar in so many ways. Which is my favourite? I don't know if I can really choose. Can I? Probably acting, being an actress and making theatre.
Okay.
I think it is, but I do absolutely love PTing people as well, and I think I'm just really lucky to be able to do two things that are my work that I adore, both of them, and I think I'm in a very privileged position to be able to say that and do that.
Yeah, no, that is lucky, and because it's quite tough, I think, when you're a creative or a performer to find something else that you enjoy as much as that. So that's brilliant that you have found that, for sure. You had to take a year out as well to train to be a personal trainer. What was the moment that made you think, okay, I can take a year out? Because, when you're running a theatre company and you're auditioning and you're in that headspace, I feel like it can be quite a big deal to try and take time out to do something different. How did you make that decision?
It was actually I think a change in my mindset with acting and with Limb to Limb, with the theatre company, with making theatre, because when I first started Limb to Limb, it was with the co-founder, Oliver Theobald, and we would grab every single opportunity we could to get on stage and do something, even if it wasn't that, even if it was really tough to do, even if it wasn't sort of the best gig, even if it meant that it maybe cost us money at times. We would just constantly doing stuff, which was brilliant to begin with. But then as Limb to Limb matured and developed, just started to get a lot more picky with the things that I personally chose I wanted to be part of, make Limb to Limb part of. I didn't just make theatre for the sake of it. I think we very much went down the route of what is it we want to do, what projects are marrying with us at the same time. And then it just was quite liberating to be really more picky with our projects, which then meant that it wasn't a constant kind of treading for water, trying to be creative all the time. You could actually take a step back and evaluate. And that meant that taking a bit more time to then go and study and become a personal trainer wasn't such a big deal, because it was something I chose to do. And it has actually aided my theatre in some ways as well. And so it was actually kind of an easy decision. And to be honest, you never really stop, do you? There's always stuff going on creatively. So even though I may have taken a year out physically, I think your mind carries on. But having that distance, I think possibly made me more creative, hopefully. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah, because actually thinking about it, you produced and devised Under the Horse for Sydenham, didn't you, while you were training? Is that right? While you were still just doing...
I just qualified as a PT when I took on that commission, and we were actually doing rehearsals for Eggshells, one of our other shows at the Brighton Fringe, while I was training, and I was writing funding applications at the same time. So although it was kind of on the back burner, there were still things going on. So
yeah, it was kind of a year off, kind of. And you said that it has kind of influenced your work, or at least aided your performing work. In what way has it crossed over?
Oh, there's so many crossovers. Limb to Limb is a very physical theatre company. And I think that's such a broad term, because all theatre is physical, isn't it, in some way or another, unless it's a radio play, I guess. But I think I already had a really big understanding of movement within theatre, whether that was choreography or actors' relationship to audience or actors' relationships, and had a massive influence on companies like DV8 and Frantic Assembly. And for you to be able to perform the type of physical theatre that Limb to Limb came under the umbrella of, you had to have a certain amount of fitness and strength and mobility. And so it just seemed like a really natural progression to want to understand my body better from an anatomical point of view, to see how that could then feed into the theatre in a different way, or maybe just come from a slightly different perspective than I had before. Before I just throw myself at movement, at dance, at this, at the other. But now I've got a slightly more scientific view of perhaps how things work and go together. So yeah, it married quite, or does.
Yeah, and like how to look after your body, I guess, as well. Okay, so over lockdown, you've had some surprise contacts at some points over this period, which have inspired you to create a show about those contacts. Could you tell us a little bit more about these contacts and what they wanted to get in touch with you about?
So within the first week of lockdown, I had first 5, then 6 ex-boyfriends, lovers, others, flings, another umbrella that they could be put under, get in contact, just be like, how are you? What's going on? And sort of all sorts of different types of contact, people that I thought I'd never hear from again. And I put a post up on Instagram because it kind of amused me. And then I've read an article, and I'm not sure which newspaper it was in. I think it was The Guardian, I'm not sure, about how this was happening a lot of kind of unresolved business. People were getting in contact with people. But this post I put on Instagram got picked up by Sean Hollands, who runs Fable Workshops and is a Frantic associate and works with the National Youth Theatre. And he was like, oh, you can't write this. And I was like, no, you can't, sort of laughing. He was like, do you have a meeting? So we ended up having a Zoom meeting. He was like, let's just make a great play. So he then put me in contact with an amazing writer, Natalia, and we've been having Zoom meetings throughout lockdown. We've actually got another meeting next week, and I've basically made a massive timeline of these gentlemen who have been in contact, and she is slowly plotting it out into some sort of play, which we also have ideas it might be set in a gym. So there's a little bit of a marry.
Cool.
But yeah, so from this contact, we've started to plot a play, which is actually pretty hilarious, I think, because it's of where it comes from. But then also hopefully other people will find it funny as well. I don't know. We'll see.
I think 6 is a lot though, isn't it? 6 in 1 week.
Yeah. Well, it was fun. And then when I put the Instagram post up, another one popped up. He was like, me too. And I was like, oh, yeah. Sorry.
Maybe he thought, oh, I want to be... I want to be in a show about this. Do any of them know that there's a show being made?
One of them knows there's a show being made. Doesn't know that he's part of it yet. He thought it was a great idea. We ended up having a conversation. And then he was asking me what I'd been up to, and I told him, sort of omitting the details, that actually you are one of these people. So that was quite a funny conversation. I will let him know, and I think by the time it gets to performance, it will be very far removed from the original stories, I hope.
Well, what, and I don't know if you can say, were they getting in contact with you about very similar things, or were there very different like requests, or how serious were people? You know, what was it? Was it like people confessing their undying love for you, or they just wanted to like hang out, even though we weren't allowed to kind of hang out with people at that time?
Yeah, a couple wanted to hang out, and I was like, lockdown. Don't know if you've been watching the news. Others were just sort of curious about my well-being. I didn't take it much further, but I am now starting to develop plot lines, so carrying on some conversations. That it was a varied mix. What else came up? One asked how I felt about co-parenting.
All right, wow.
There were all sorts of conversations that came up, and some I've carried on and some I haven't, and some I might try and pick up for for material as we go along. I don't know how thoroughly that is or not, but we'll see.
Is it going to be a physical theatre piece then, or do you know yet?
Well, we honestly, it's such early days. There's a few scenes that have been penned. I think it will be. At the moment, the idea is that it's set in a gym, and each guy that's got in contact has a different exercise attached to him, and so there will be a very physical element to this storytelling, sort of married with these different gym exercises, which will hopefully either complement or jar with what's being said. How are we going to do that? Whether it ends up like that, I don't know, but those are the kind of ideas that are being thrown around at the moment without too much away. So knowing me, it will be very physical. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And okay, so it's the point of the show where we hear from a couple of our younger listeners who have this sort of thing all ahead of them. Jazz and Holly, who are 6 and 8 years old, and they have written in, they wanted to ask some grown-ups some questions, and they'd like to know, what's your favourite part of your house?
My favourite, it's the front step of my house. That's my favourite part of my house. After my room, I love my room as well, but you'll find me on my front step because it gets the most sun and I get to watch all the people walking by and be nosy.
Oh, good answer. Yes, and I wasn't expecting that. So front step, brilliant. And we asked you to bring along an item that describes lockdown for you. Have you brought it along with you?
I have. It's not so much an item, but it's something that popped up. I changed it today, so it's a poem actually. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, are you all right to read it?
Yeah, I'll give you the story behind it. It was right at the beginning of lockdown. I had these grand ideas that I'd do yoga every single day, and I didn't. I did it once at the beginning of lockdown. And then this week, in fact, yesterday, I did yoga with an amazing yoga teacher, someone called Sarah Malcolm. She does online Zoom classes and in-person classes, but I did my first yoga with her at the beginning of lockdown, and then I did one with her yesterday. And at the end of the class, she read this poem, and I know the poem, and it's from a South London poet, Kate Tempest. It was Kate Tempest, now wants to be known by Kate Tempest. And I forgot how good it was. And I won't read it all because it's too long, so it's just a short bit, but it really made me think about lockdown. So it's hold your own, just a small bit. When time pulls lives apart, hold your own. When everything is fluid and nothing can be known with any certainty, hold your own. Hold it till you feel it there, as dark and dense and wet as earth, as vast and bright and sweet as air. When all there is knowing that you feel what you are feeling, hold your own. Ask your hands to know the things they hold. I know the days are reeling past in such squealing blasts, but stop for breath and you will know it's yours, swaying like an open door. When storms are coming, hold. And it just reminded me of lockdown because it's,
yeah, that's beautiful.
Like, she's just so amazing. They are just so amazing. And yeah, it was just seemed like quite a full circle that Sarah decided to read it at the end of her class. It was gave me the feels.
Yeah, that's given me the feels. That's why I'm just sat there like, oh, thanks for that. Thank you so much for bringing that along. Okay, well, it's been lovely chatting to you, but this isn't goodbye. We're just going to pop you into the waiting room while we just prepare some stuff from our special guest appearance, okay? All right, thanks so much, Leah. See you in a minute.
See you in a bit.
Okay, great. So, and we've got Laura coming in over the chat saying that poem was beautiful, and thank you, Leah. Yes, thank you very much for reading that. Okay, so for our next segment, unbelievably, again, a very generous Hollywood A-list legend has given up some of his time for the Sydenham Arts Centre. Yeah, there are rumours that he used to live in Sydenham and Forest Hill. Yeah, he's a double local. His stubble is trimmed so particularly that pieces of wood tremble as he passes. And although now he spends most of his time in Beverly Hills, he has vowed never to forget his southeast London roots and has kindly taken some time out of his action-packed schedule to sing some songs for us. Now, all our guests have to do is listen to the song that he's recorded, tell me what the song is, and the artist and the year that the song was released. So there's 3 points up for grabs for all of those things. A guest must buzz in to answer. The first guest to buzz in gets a chance at answering for all of those points. If there's hesitation, the other guest can jump right in and steal. Okay, let's see. Are we ready? Okay, let's play Jason Statham Sings to the Nation. Jason Statham Sings to the Nation. Hey, hello. Welcome back, Leah, and welcome, Gavin. Thank you so much for coming on. Hey.
Hello.
Sorry you don't get much of an intro now, Gavin. I promise you. You will get a proper intro when after Jason's done his bit. You know, he's a busy man. He's a busy man. No. Okay. Do you both know the rules of the game? If you could just give me a verbal, if you do.
Yes.
I think so. I agreed to do, when I agreed to do this, I was like, why not? And then I watched all of the previous programs, and I didn't get a single point from any of them. I want to set expectations at the right level, but yeah, I think
that's all right. Don't worry, Gavin. There's no pressure. It's all fun. I hear Leah's amazing at this game, so don't. No, it's fine. You'll be great. I am sure. Don't you worry. Heat of the moment, sometimes adrenaline just bursts us on, doesn't it? Okay, so you've both got the rules, sort of. You both need a buzzer to buzz in with. So Leah, please could you give me your buzzer sound? It's very quiet, that. No.
Right.
She's great. So she was just hitting things in her room for anyone listening, but now she's going to make a bar sound with her mouth. Love it. Perfect. Gavin, what's your nominated buzzer sound, please?
I'll go for classic, buzz.
Oh, a classic buzz. So we've got a bar and a buzz. Okay, fantastic. So remember, you've got 3 points up for grabs. You can buzz in even if you just know one of those things. And then there's a room to steal if the other person isn't sure what they're saying. Okay, so have we got our first song ready? Fantastic. First song, let's go. Jason Statham Sings to the Nation.
The club isn't the best place to find a lover, so the bar is where I go. Me and my friends at table doing shots, drinking fast, and then we talk slow. Come over, start up a conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance. Stop, take my hand, put Van the Man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance.
Buzz.
Oh, okay. Hello. Kept us in suspense there. Yes, Gavin.
Thought I'd just go for it. I'm going to guess Ed Sheeran.
Yes, it is Ed Sheeran. Okay. Any other points you want to go for? We've got the...
Is it Shape of You? No.
Shape of You?
Shape of You. No?
Yeah, it's Shape of You. Yes. Gavin was he was absolute hustler at the beginning of this game, wasn't he?
Unbelievable.
In the year 2017?
Are you joking? Yes, it is. We've got an Ed Sheeran fan here tonight. Okay. All right, but don't worry, Leah. He got a hat trick. I mean, he made us believe it wasn't possible, but there's another song. Okay, so it's all to play for. Still all to play for. Okay, song 2. All right, here we go. The second song.
At first I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along.
I mean, I'm terrified of that one. That was terrifying. Leah, that was your buzzer sound that came in.
I Will Survive.
Yes.
Is it Gloria Gaynor?
Yes, it is.
82?
It's not 82, I'm afraid. Not 82. You can try and steal, Gavin, if you've got it in you.
1978?
It's 1978. Yeah, absolutely. It's 1978. There you go. What can we say? Obviously, the adrenaline carried you through. So, congratulations, Gavin. You are this week's crowned Jason Statham Sings to the Nation winner. Leah, I'm so sorry. I mean, you know, but thanks for playing. Right. Gavin, you surprised us all there after that lead-in. Well, this is when we say goodbye to Leah, but Gavin, goodbye. We'll see you in just a moment, okay? And thank you, Leah.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
See you in a minute. There you go. He surprised us all, didn't he? And we should also say thank you once again, Jason, especially for coming on for the finale. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. We know that you're a busy, busy guy. I've got some over the chat, Laura saying, yeah, that was a great steal. And someone else, Ella, saying that Leah looks amazing, and so do I. Thank you. We appreciate that very much. Okay, so our second guest doesn't really need an introduction because you just saw them, but they deserve an introduction, especially after that performance. Okay, so they come from the Albany, Deptford. The Albany is the heart of Lewisham's arts and community scene. Throughout lockdown, the Albany has created opportunities for young people in Lewisham via their youth programme, as well as older residents through their Meet Me on the Radio show. The Albany is looking to open their doors in a couple of weeks, and as they emerge, they have some new thinking coming out of the key events from the last 7 months. We are very excited to have talking to us tonight the Chief Executive and Artistic Director of the Albany Deptford, Gavin Barlow.
Hi, Angela.
Hey, Gavin. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Someone's saying in the chat, you should go on Mastermind.
Well, yeah, I obviously undersold that. I don't know whether that was deliberate, but honestly, truthfully, I'd gone through the others just before and it was like, I've no idea. So yeah, maybe you're right, that kind of adrenaline in the moment, and you kind of comes out of your memory banks somewhere. So yeah. Your brain's like there for you, just like, okay, we can do this. So before we go into some more detailed questions, I am going to ask you, how often do people accidentally write or call you Gary Barlow? It surprisingly happens a lot on emails, particularly, where people just say, oh, dear Gary, or hi, Gary. Yeah, it's just obviously for some reason a connection in people's brain. So yeah, I used to say he was my cousin, but yeah, I've stopped trying to play that one.
Oh yeah, because then people presumably they start asking you more questions like, oh yeah, how did you feel when they broke up for the first time? Did you cry as well? No, that was just me. Okay. Anyway, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm not surprised that happens a little bit. So you've been artistic director of the Albany for 17 years now, that's amazing, really. That's such a phenomenal time period. What's inspired you to stay in that role for that length of time?
Yeah, it is. It seems kind of amazing. I think I'd have been shocked at the time if I thought that. I mean, because I came, well, you should say 17 years ago, and the Albany had this amazing history and kind of had a previous heyday in the 80s. But then kind of 17 years ago, I suppose it had really fallen on hard times, and it, for instance, didn't have any Arts Council funding. It didn't have a programme, actually. It had just become a kind of community centre without much funding. So it was a kind of challenge to kind of, I think we were about £250,000 in debt as well. So it was just a challenge to try and find out what it should be again, and try and kind of rediscover it and turn it around and make it work. And before that, I was in Manchester, so I moved to Deptford. And I think just that process over 2 or 3 years, a kind of place seeps into your bloodstream, gets under your skin. And after about 3 or 4 years, we were starting to make it, and the Arts Council were giving us some money, and we got out of financial trouble. So then it actually, instead of moving on, which I thought I might do, it's actually, well, there's more interesting things we can do. And so as time's gone on, it's one of those places that changes all the time, because it changes in response to the people that are there and the people around it. And so my job has never been the same, and the place hasn't really been the same. It's just kept changing. So, there's no chance to get bored, and it's kind of got under my skin, really. And so I still live in Deptford as well. So yeah, 17 years, it's a long time now.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And like you're saying that it's a place that keeps changing, and that's still today, isn't it? That's still something that's currently happening for you at the Albany. And you've got a couple of things going on. So you've got your Artists of Change commissions coming up, so which is reimagining what 21st century arts venues should look like. Could you tell us a bit more about who Artists of Change are, what these commissions are?
Yeah, I mean, it's an idea we came up with a little while back, but it feels like a perfect way to kind of reopen after lockdown. I mean, I think, it's tempting just to go back to normal, but actually so many things have changed and we've all learned so many things. And so it just feels like we should open by asking questions, really. And trying to do something different rather than just getting back to exactly the old. So, and the other thing is, we work with artists as performers and workshop leaders and, and associate artists, and we support artists. But actually artists never get the chance to kind of work for a long period properly in an organisation. So we thought we'd set these Artists of Change, which is just an open call to any artist who has a connection in South East London. And so there'll be 2 jobs over the next year where they'll work with us for 6 months. And the idea is to start by being part of the organisation, asking questions rather than, they can come with their own approach, but the idea is that they will be talking and working with local people and audiences and community members. And out of that, they can start to decide together what they want to produce. So it may be that they produce a piece of work, but it may be that they do a festival, or they do a series of gigs or film screenings, exhibitions, or it could be all of those things. And so we've kept it really, really open. And I think that's what's scary about it, but that's also what's really exciting. And so genuinely, when arts organisations do things with local communities, so often they're going out and saying, well, we've got this, are you interested? So, and really we just wanted to turn that on its head and go, well, we've got a venue, we've got some resources, we've got artists, so what ideas have you got and what can we make of that, really? We've been doing these events for a couple of years called Pizza and Pitches, where local people, some of them artists, some of them not artists, just pitch in ideas, and then they pitch them at this event. Local people come and they vote for the winner. So the local people choose, the audience chooses the winner, and then the winner gets £1,000, and we agree to work with them to produce whatever ideas they come up with. And we've done 3 of them now. But out of that, there's been so much creativity and so many brilliant ideas. You kind of think, well, actually, we can, this is what the programme should be. We can create it out of local people's ideas and their passions and what they want to see and what they want to do. And that just seems like the way that we should be doing it. So we're giving it a go.
Yeah, that's great. So like the going to the community, seeing what the community want, and then because arts should enhance the community at the end of the day, and rather than kind of being prescriptive with what people think should enhance things, it's like them being able to say, actually, this is what I want. No, that's amazing. And you've also responded very openly and creatively to the Black Lives Matter movement, and you've released a constructive statement of action as well, which ties in with the kind of rethinking. What sort of action can people hope to see from the Albany going forward in response to BLM?
Yeah, I think, a lot of venues have made statements about what they're going to do and how to change. And I think all of the arts needs to change. And it kind of seemed to me that, unless you were kind of really making changes right now, doing something, and were prepared to give things up to make them happen, then it wasn't really real. We had to kind of respond. This isn't, I think any venue has to reflect where it is, its local areas, its communities, and that has to be in the stories it tells, the artists that you see there, the people that work there. So it has to go absolutely across the board. And it's interesting because the Arts Council do this kind of survey of diversity and of kind of major organisations in the country. And I think the Albany came out as like the most diverse workforce. So it's not like we haven't been trying to kind of reflect that. But at the same time, it's if you look at the senior team, for instance, it's very strongly majority white. And so it doesn't feel that that's, after all these years and after kind of different things that have been tried, is genuinely kind of 100% through the organisation. So we really wanted to put that right. So we're making a new kind of senior appointment. One of the first 2 artists of change will be an artist of colour, making a new appointment to the board. And we're also committing that at least 50% of all of our performers and freelancers from here on in will be people of colour. So kind of feels like, well, okay, those are just commitments. Let's say them publicly, and people can judge us on them. Which is
You've got them in writing. You've got them in writing. Yeah, great. Okay, and over lockdown, the Albany mostly produced work for people aged 8 to 15, or for people over 60. Why did you think it was particularly important to focus on those age groups?
So we do lots of young people's programs, and we also, as you say, do Meet Me at the Albany for over 60s. So in terms of shows, we work with local company Teatro Vivo and kind of put online shows and did things online. But we actually thought those 2 groups of people we worked with are kind of 2 groups that probably will need a lot of support in this time. I think it's really difficult for young people, and obviously a lot of older people are in a situation where they've got to shield and they're potentially vulnerable to the virus. So we thought, well, let's, those are 2 successful projects we do. How do we take them outside the building when we haven't got a building anymore, or we can't use the building? So really with young people, we kind of thought, we'll let them lead. We'll talk to them about what they want. So we just kept in conversation, but out of that has come a new podcast series, setting up a new record company, kind of all of these online commissions that were led by young people, which is fantastic. And with older people, we did some stuff online, but of course, a lot of older people don't necessarily have good internet access and so forth. So that's why we started Meet Me on the Radio. We thought, well, a radio is something, you can do it online, it is online, but also it's on an FM radio station, on Resonance FM. So that was, 2 older people, now the presenters. It's going really well every week, and it's really fantastic. And it's kind of just learning new skills of producing radio shows rather than producing events, but it's really taken off and worked well. So, as well as that, we've just done a choir through phone systems and delivered hundreds of creative activity boxes. And it's just, I think it's just a question of what can you do, and, how can you be helpful? How can you support people? And it's like, if you think the arts are important, you have to find a way for it, creativity to work, and for that to kind of support people. I think it's interesting during this time. I think people have discovered their local area and also discovered their own creativity to some extent. So it feels like, coming out of it, somewhere like the Albany has a real role, I think, in actually bringing people back together, and actually kind of supporting people through this recovery stage into the next stage. That sounds
definitely.
very optimistic. I know it's all I know the actual situation is so difficult for lots of people, but ultimately it's like, what can you do to be useful, I think, and that has to be the kind of watchword for it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think particularly with the Meet Me on the Radio, that's really interesting, actually, and important that, you're right, absolutely. Not everybody has access to decent internet. That is a fact. So so are the 2 presenters, are they going into a studio, or how are they delivering the show?
At the moment, we've all done it through phone systems. So it's remarkable, really. But they're natural presenters, and so like creating these relationships and doing interviews and the banter, and it's it's seriously impressive. And it started off as a show for older people, but I think the listenership is now much wider than that. I think it's a really nice mix of kind of really interesting stories, interesting artists coming on, and some just real humour and kind of stories of life and kind of experiences through this. So yeah, I think it's been a real success for us.
Yeah, amazing. Well, okay, so I have a couple of questions in a bag here from a couple of girls that I know love their granny. They absolutely love her. So Jazz and Holly, they are 6 and 8, and they like to ask grown-ups questions. So, okay, their question is, what is your favourite instrument?
My favourite instrument? Oh, that's really interesting. When I was younger, I played the piano, and I think I love the piano, actually. I must start playing it again.
Yeah,
it'd be great. I'm not sure in my little flat, like, whether the neighbours would like it very much, but yeah, piano.
You can just say you're finding your creativity again. It's like this time, I'm just finding. No, but of course, the piano is amazing, isn't it? You can do so much with it, and it's, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, and so we asked you to bring along an object that symbolised lockdown for you. Do you have it with you?
Well, I mean, first of all, I thought I'd bring this because it's probably for everyone. But yeah, the sad truth is this has probably been my lockdown treat. I can't lie. But I thought, okay, I should come up with something a bit more wholesome. So I'm going to bring this, which is a cookbook called The Green Roasting Tin. Because actually early in lockdowns, like, I never feel like I've got time to cook, but suddenly got a real interest in, cooking from scratch. I mean, nothing complicated, but I just got really into it. I must admit it's gone off a bit now, but there was a few months when I got really into it. And we've got a community garden at the Albany. So obviously we kept that going, but there wasn't that many people there. And obviously we were giving away produce and stuff like that, but there was so many extra stuff. So there's like, masses of spare courgettes. And so I was getting a few of those. So yeah,
Nice.
If you want some interesting ideas about what to do with a courgette, I'm now your man, definitely.
Good to know. And wine and cooking go very well together, don't they? Let's be honest. Well, thank you for joining us this evening, Gavin, and thanks for sharing all the exciting stuff that's going on at the Albany and everything that you've been doing. I've got some people on the chat saying sounds fab, Gavin, so there you go. Thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to chat to you, and good luck with opening the doors of the Albany, and good luck with the autumn programme.
Thanks very
much. Take care now. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Oh, great. So thank you very much to Gavin, and lovely to hear everything that's going on at the Albany at the moment. So moving on to our third guest of the season finale. Our next guest is an award-winning performer with titles behind them such as Ireland's 2017 LGBTQ plus Performer of the Year. They fuse theatre and cabaret to produce future-facing, imaginative, explosive work for theatre, the club and for the community. Over lockdown, they ran a series of online weekly Zoom workshops for Queer School for queer artists looking to develop their creative output, skills and intuition. They are currently working on an exciting new musical project that includes mentorship from iconic group Hot Brown Honey. Yes, it is the wonderful, the fantastic and sometimes sparkly Xnthony.
Wow, the way you there, I was like, who wrote that? Oh, I did. Yeah, I wrote that.
Yeah, some of that straight off your website.
Oh God, it's so good, the branding. And it's so interesting because I haven't felt like that kind of pizzazzy in about 6 months, but it feels great when you hear it back,
Yeah, when you're like, oh yeah, those are all the things that I do. That's actually me, yeah. Yeah, quite often people are like, wow, what an intro. And I'm like, that is actually just the things that you do. But hearing them out loud, like, oh, okay. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. Sitting here in my sitting room in my parents' house in Ireland. Can you just please note the beige curtains, the beige carpet, the beige chairs, the beige walls. So I'm in the beige.
Lovely. Things that match are very important to some parents. This is the thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start with Hot Brown Honey mentorship. How excited are you to be receiving mentorship from Hot Brown Honey? Like on a scale from 1 to 10, how excited?
Oh, uh, kind of insane. It's insane. Yeah, so like, it's out of this world in many ways because when I was a little baby gay, only a few years ago, I was watching Hot Brown Honey in Dublin in a Spiegel tent, and I was like, oh my God, I'll never be as good as these queens. But then suddenly, through strange series of events, we got working together. So I got this residency in Ireland. You go to this massive house in Ireland for 2 weeks in rural like Ireland beside the lake, and Hot Brown Honey and Ron Athey, this live artist from the US, were mentoring, and I was matched with Hot Brown Honey, and I was like, this is insane. I can't believe this. And they are so sound, like insanely sound, insanely generous. They don't have any ego. They're really just like lovely, lovely people. And the reason I was there was because at the time I was working on a project about British colonialism of Ireland, big subject matter. And it was called at the time I Are Gay, which was like a fun title, but actually in reconsideration, like my boyfriend is from Belfast, he was like, you can't call it that, it's not really your story. So as stories have gone on, it's developed, but we worked there together and it was just really, really amazing. So they've agreed to be a part of this project that we're working on, and yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And so it's always nice when you hear that they're lovely people as well. You're like, oh yay, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, really sound. I had to like ask them to do something for me last week for an application for funding, and they did it in like 20 minutes and the deadline was in an hour, and they were like, there you go, no problem, we understand. It's like, they're really nice people. Yeah,
they're experienced as well, clearly, because funding is not a fun thing to apply for, is it?
no,
Sometimes you need
funding,
things to happen quickly.
yeah, the word fun in funding is a misleading statement.
Yeah,
That's all
it's
I'll
a
say
lie.
about
It's a lie. So this is your next project that they are working with you on, and it's a new musical about Oliver Cromwell. So do you know as of yet what character's going to be telling the story, or whose lens we're going to be looking through, anything like that?
Yeah, so the whole idea for the show came from Brexit, came from like this sort of being an Irish person in the UK, always having to sort of face minor kind of like side swipes about Irish history and culture, and also the lack of history education about Ireland, and of course colonialism, capital C, is insane. And it's been in the works for like, I've been working on it since like that's what it was. I was in Edinburgh last year with a show about rural Ireland, like about a pop concert on my dad's farm, and the Brits didn't really get it. And I was like, oh shit, they don't get my story. I hate the Brits. Oh, that's a really funny line of thought. Let's investigate that. And then ended up working on Hot Brown Honey. And as it developed, it became much more focused about Oliver Cromwell, because Oliver Cromwell actually kind of, he's seen as a tolerant person. Like Tony Blair would have had a picture of him in his office, but in Ireland, he's seen as a genocidal maniac. He killed like thousands of Catholics in a couple of towns and villages, created a kind of a two-state Catholic versus Protestant kind of scenario in Ireland that affects Ireland up until this day. So there's a kind of a education sort of idea here where we're trying to kind of bring education in, but also what if we bring education in, but like we tell loads of lies as well? So like, it's kind of a bit like half truths and like foaming at the mouth nationalism, and like, is Oliver telling the truth? Is he apologizing for what he did? So it's kind of exciting. So it's called Oliver Cromwell is Really Very Sorry. So it kind of, in a nutshell, it explores cancel culture, colonialism, and sort of like British history in Ireland. And it's set on a cruise ship, and it's got a disco soundtrack. It's like heightened like disco. Think about like American Psycho meets like Saturday Night Fever, but about Cromwell.
Amazing, because I was going to ask you, how can you, because that could be a potentially very like gruesome story to be telling, and quite a brutal, traumatic one, and I was wondering how you were going to flip that into being something more kind of fabulous and it's because it's quite and apparently you have managed to do that already in your description.
We've been working up, so I'm so lucky I got the funding miraculously. I don't know how the British Arts Council decided to fund this a week before lockdown, and so for nearly, it feels like a year, but it's been 7 months, we've been like pausing it, but we're going back to work soon, and I've been working on my own slowly, and kind of very slowly really. And for me, it always had to be disco. I don't know why, and I couldn't justify it, but there was something about the idea of like heightened entertainment that went so in the face of the traumatic content, and that's kind of disgusting. And also it says a lot about Oliver as a character, that he would be able to be suave, be really like charismatic, like Chesney, what's his name? Chesney Hawkes, is that his name?
Yeah.
He's like debut, like with the little mole on his on his lips, you know, very misleadingly charming, but with music, pop songs about killing babies, you know, like really intense, but stuff that people can actually laugh at in a weird way and kind of like get the awkwardness out. And for British and Irish people, like for an Irish person, they will want to see Oliver apologize or get retribution. But a British person will be like, I don't even know what the hell he did, so could you explain? And the show itself like leads up to this sort of graphic ending that's like quite a violent ending, but it's all kind of set within this like disco realm. I'm feeling excited, as you can tell, because I'm going into R&D in like 3 weeks, so I'm like, finally. So yeah,
it sounds amazing, to be fair, and I have to shamefully admit I did have to really Google what I was like, okay, Oliver Cromwell, what happened there, which is just totally highlights that point, doesn't it? Really, absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, it's kind of worth noting as well, like it's weird how the movement Black Lives Matter and all that kind of stuff was pushing, and this show was like, you know, you sometimes get a sense of like what's moving in society, and for me it was very much about an Irish question about being in the UK, but now it has become a bigger question about colonialism, and that's why Hot Brown Honey, their involvement is really key, because it wouldn't be much use if it was really just about the white story. You know, it's much more complex and larger than that. So we're definitely hitting on one part of history, but it should reflect on a bigger question, you know.
Yeah, and because Hot Brown Honey say in there that they want their audience to come away with having a conversation, like they put on this amazing show, and then one of the key things is to come away with the audience like talking about the things that just happened or the issues that were raised. Is that very important for you in your work as well?
Yeah, in this project, it depends on which show. I think what's happening for me is I'm a little bit older now. You know, I'm like thinking a bit more carefully about the project I'm making, and I'm slowing down loads, lockdown or not. Like I'm trying to make one thing at a time. And with this project, there was always a discussion like, do you want to do it in a Spiegel tent in Edinburgh where there's like loads of drunk people drinking champagne, watching you explain like how someone killed thousands of people, or do you want to do it in like Soho where it's like kind of in the middle, or do you want to do it in like somewhere even more serious like the Barbican or whatever, blah blah blah. But for me it can be all those things, but it does need to sort of like hit people on the head from both spectrums, you know, like from everyone. And I think the idea that this people involved in the show will have to be very cared for, because I expect to get death threats. I also from both sides of the equation. And I also notice whenever I post things about Oliver Cromwell online, like bits of history, people unfollow like really quick. It's like this sort of like, it's really unsexy for some reason, but I don't mind.
Yeah. It's, don't they say like if you're offending both ends, like the far left and the far right, you're probably doing something right? That's definitely. Apparently. I've heard that.
That's kind of been like a thing of my work. I mean, I've actually worked with the Albany as well, so it was amazing to hear Gavin speak, and I love that place. It's amazing. But in the past, you know, I've done shows about like a gay man pretending to be straight to improve his commerciability, and that really annoyed a lot of queer people because they were like, why would you do this? We've just got gay marriage in Ireland. Like, why would you do this? And I'm like, well, there are other extremes, you know, like equal marriage isn't like the be all and end all. Heteronormativity is really a toxic thing that we're buying into as a queer community, blah, blah, blah. So I like to say that I do kind of want to annoy both spectrums.
You want to, and you shall. You shall.
You know that I haven't spoken to anyone in a while.
Oh, no, you're doing well. When I first was coming out of lockdown, I sort of was feeling, I just like, when I wasn't talking to people over Zoom, that was the first challenge. I was like, oh, in person, no, I don't need to pause as much. Da, da, da. No, you're all good. You're all good. But I did want to ask you, over lockdown, you ran Queer School. Can you tell us a bit more about what motivated you to run that project?
Yeah, so Queer School was set up with Dublin Fringe in Dublin about a year ago, and it was like, I just felt that a lot of younger queer performers weren't being offered a lot of the resources that they needed to develop really mundane but really necessary things like how to write a budget, how to apply for funding, how to set your website up so it's usable, blah, 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 blah. And that's because queer people obviously come from a lot of disadvantaged backgrounds. So I was like, look, I ain't like a massive superstar in any sense, but I can still help these people in some way with what I have. And so I opened up the resources that I'd gotten. I just shared all my funding applications that I've got money. I just opened up the doors and made it like accessible to anyone that asked. And then I was planning on doing it for before lockdown. And actually one of the people who attended, I cancelled it. One of the people who was going to attend was like, would you not do it online? And I just thought, like, you know, the first few weeks of lockdown was traumatic. Like I was just like, I could barely function. And I said, right, okay, I will. And actually it became like this therapeutic thing for me and the group. Like we just met up every Monday and we'd have a topic and I would lead on it. And then I would find people who might have more experience in departments like songwriting, and they'd come into the Zoom with us. And it became this like group, and it was really, it was lovely, but it's now over for the moment, because after all that work, it's like, you know, I'm all about like watching yourself as an artist and not getting burnt out and saying no. So some people think that artists are kind of like there to sort of be at the forefront all the time firefighting. And I actually think that we're allowed to have the privilege to just say, no, actually, we're going to leave it to the Karens. And I'm actually going to go over here and just, I'm going to like play my PlayStation for 6 months. And that's okay. There might be privilege in that, but I think that we artists don't need to be proving a point right now. You know, we can just survive. That's my point. But Queer School will be back, and I will be opening it up again, and it will be free, and it'll be for anyone who wants it.
Do you feel like you've had have you had some quality PlayStation time then? Has that happened?
Actually, the whole question about the object, I know I gave you a crappy answer yesterday about the watch, but actually it's my PlayStation. I bought a PlayStation. Okay. Yeah, like week 3 of lockdown, I was like, I'm buying a PlayStation, because I was watching like people playing the PlayStation as like an ASMR like therapy thing, and then I was like, why am I just gonna buy one? And I did, and like honestly, I said to my flatmate, I was like, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. I have never been happier.
Do you know what though? I bet there's a lot of people that can relate to that actually. They're like, wow, this is game consoles. There is a reason that people play these. Yeah, it's good, like escapism.
And there's some amazing art. I would love to make a PlayStation game that's a show. That's in my head, but I don't know what that would be.
Many things. Yeah, no, but I'm sure. Could it involve zebras maybe?
It could involve, like, I think a really good idea would be like, you know, non-playable characters, the ones that only speak like, hello, you must go over here. Like a show that's about a non-playable character that's waiting for the main character to come, but the main character gets killed, and the non-playable character is like, oh, I have to take over now.
Anyway. Mike's nodding like, yes, he wants to play that game. Okay, so we have our final question of this season from our lovely Jazz and Holly. Jazz and Holly, thank you so much for sending these all in. And I didn't plan for this to be the last question, but I'm really glad it is. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh God, that's so complex because, like, is it like the superpower? Oh, I just want to cure AIDS. that's
I think that's a good superpower.
So intense and like very like first what's the word, like Miss University, but like that's all I would like to. That's the one thing. Yeah, that's always what I wish for when I do like wishes on candles. I'm like, I would like a cure for that. That would just solve a lot of problems for people. Isn't that strange?
I don't think that's strange. I think that's a very good superpower. There you go. Yeah. Yes. Fingers and sorry.
World peace.
And world peace, of course. And world peace. You are getting a lot of love over the chat, just so that you know. Xnthony saying we need more artists like you. So there you go. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been lovely chatting to you. Good luck with your next show. I can't wait to sort of see how it develops.
Yeah, I'll let you know. You'll be getting spammed pretty soon. Can't wait.
Brilliant.
It's gonna be great. Thanks for having me, and the guests were amazing. And thank you to the world.
Yes, thank you to the world. Have a lovely time in that beige room.
I will. It's my prison. Bye, honey.
See ya. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Fantastic. Lovely. And if you want to keep up to date with anything that Xnthony is doing, you can go on to their website. It's very fun. So it's time for the final feature of the show. It's the Living Legend season finale. Yeah, every week we have been saying thank you to somebody in the local community that has gone above and beyond over this period of time. And they've been nominated by you each week. And so we've had a range of people and organisations that have been nominated so far. And we just asked for, you could have done anything, you know, given someone a chocolate bar or been out there delivering fresh fruit and veg. So it's time to see who is this week's ultimate living legend.
Living legend.
What a legend.
Aw, thanks.
So this week's living legend actually came to us via Twitter, and this is from Sydenham Mural. They got in touch to nominate Kirkdale Bookshop for being one of the linchpins of the community, and specifically Roland from Kirkdale for his personality. I mean, that's a nice thing to get nominated for, isn't it? And his online efforts to spark joy over lockdown. So Kirkdale are running a storytime session every Saturday morning for kids aged 3+. And online, Roland has posted that on Tuesday, it is his 52nd birthday. And if you come into Kirkdale Bookshop on Tuesday, he will make you a cup of tea. That's right. Now that sounds like a legend to me. So thank you, Roland, and thank you all of the staff at Kirkdale Bookshop. People have seen you blowing horns outside and spreading joy. We appreciate that. You are clearly a bunch of local living legends. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for being here for episode 4, season finale of the Sydenham Arts Podcast. We hope to be back with you soon. We'll obviously let you know if or when that happens. But in the meantime, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Sydenham Arts YouTube channel. You can do so by clicking below or the link at the end, where you can keep up to date with everything that Sydenham Arts are doing. If you go to Sydenham Arts website, sydenhamarts.co.uk, they've got a What's On page, and they've got loads of stuff going on at the moment out in the community, which is fantastic. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all of those, which I should also say a big thank you to Laura, who does the socials for Sydenham, because she has been awesome posting about this, so thank you, Laura. I should say a big thank you to Mike, who's here on tech. He's been most excellent over this time, and thank you so much to James at Sydenham Arts and the board for the opportunity to have created this show. It's been amazing to meet such brilliant artists and pillars of the community that have been doing amazing stuff over this time. So thank you very much. If you want to listen to any of the podcasts that you haven't had a chance to yet, or this one again, which totally understandable, they're all on Apple, Spotify, Google, all of the podcasting platforms beyond that as well, Anchor, and this one will be out next week. Anyway, thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure. Stay stripy.
At first I was afraid. I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along. And so you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you with that sorry look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid look. I should have made you leave a key. If I thought for just 1 second you'd be back to follow me. Oh no, now go. Walk out the door.